I have saved this one opportunity, my only event of today, to speak briefly to you about the mindless menace of violence in America, which again stains our land and every one of our lives. It is not the concern of any one race. The victims of the violence are black and white, rich and poor, young and old, famous and unknown. They are, most important of all, human beings whom other human beings loved and needed. No one, no matter where he lives or what he does, can be certain who next will suffer from some senseless act of bloodshed. And yet it goes on and on and on in this country of ours. Why? What has violence ever accomplished? What has it ever created? No martyr's cause has ever been stilled by an assassin's bullet. No wrongs have ever been righted by riots and civil disorders. A sniper is only a coward, not a hero. And an uncontrolled or uncontrollable mob is only the voice of madness, not the voice of the people.
This is the world that I live in, where I get out of bed confused by the news, hear that red and blue can't choose what to do, where I see the light fading out all around me, both the world and people degrading. How? It's astounding. But that's just the world that I live in, where people believe politicians gotta listen. They seek to move, but only when it's cost efficient. But we the people continue to worship and bow to a nation that won't stick around, bleeding you dry, assuring stim rounds, spinning it till it seems just a bit sound. But now even Dracula feels like he's going without, 'cause by the time the leeches get through, why, even he doesn't receive discount. But that's just the world that I live in. Don't you know, leaning to the left or right can be a sign of a stroke? They scream, let's be righteous, with a violent tone. Same people say that I should blindly vote by ignoring evidence, accepting the sedative of choosing who you think are the lesser of two evils to be president. But that's the world that I live in. Suddenly, ridicule calls. I'm transported back into middle school halls, a part of some sort of belittle pool all day long, where in order to build yourself up, you have to tear someone else down. Sound familiar? Are you understanding yet how much misrule stalls? But that's the world that I live in. Countries are still at war with each other or at war with themselves, whether they know it or not, while some leaders say, hey, are you 15? Here's an AR-15, let's take your genocide to commit genocide while we intake gin inside of our bodies, while we neglect the hunger, the injustice, the trafficking, the abuse, and the death that our citizens experience. But that's the world that I live in, where there are two sides. Neither uses truth right, but they said something true, right? Either way, we still choose lies and accept them. Why? Remember when you claimed that the virus wouldn't stay till April, till May, but what did we find by summertime when it was due time? You lied, because COVID-19 has now infected and seized millions of lives, leaving a myriad amount of the masses to feel unclear and mask their fear in uncertainty. But that's the world that I live in, where the ones calling for unity are creating just as much of the divide, where no one truly sees that they're using these communities to accrue more reach, then they just toss them aside. Those abusing seats of power take their toll, so you scrounge the rest of your cents from your last wage. No amount affects Republican or Democrat ways. It's a sad day, 'cause they don't want your exact change. But that's the world that I live in, where I'll never be able to discuss with Ahmaud Arbery on how I don't particularly love running, but that I respect that he does, though he couldn't even go out for a run without becoming a victim found at the end where they think violence is only an action not planned or offhand words, and between the banter they practically asking to be infected, Satan's replying, why yes you can, sir. The world that I live in, where all they care about is who's up in office, while you're unaware about the guy who just lost his job because companies make cuts to maximize profits, and he wonders how he will provide now that he's jobless. Or what about the kid who decided to rob his neighbor because he thought he could stop his stomach from rumbling by becoming lawless, and now you're wondering, how can we stop this? Well, honestly, you're less helpful than a corrupt cop is, because all your life you've been taught and bought this idea that you can put faith in a political caucus instead of doing what you can to uplift individuals and reach the hearts of the needy that live just right down your street. The world that I live in, where people can't see the bigger picture. So, okay, misinformed, I see you've already made up your mind. Forget fact checks, you bathe in lies, and I doubt that you'll change with time, and you're not listening now, so you know what, just forget it.
We must admit to ourselves that our children's future cannot be built on the misfortune of another's. We must recognize that this short life can neither be ennobled or enriched by hatred or by revenge. Our lives on this planet are too short. The work to be done is too great to let this spirit flourish any longer in this land of ours. Of course, we cannot banish it with a program, nor with a resolution. But we can perhaps remember, if only for a time, that those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life, that they seek, as do we, nothing but the chance to live out their lives in purpose and in happiness, winning what satisfaction and fulfillment that they can. Surely this bond of common fate, surely this bond of common goals can begin to teach us something. Surely we can learn at the least to look around at those of us, of our fellow men, and surely we can begin to work a little harder to bind up the wounds among us and to become in our hearts brothers and countrymen once again. Tennyson wrote in Ulysses, "That which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield."